Hey everybody, welcome back to Build a Website from Scratch with HTML and CSS. This video is called Get Your Hands Dirty. In this video, we build a little mini website with everything we've learned so far from this section. And it just so happens that we've been learning some really great stuff in this section. So we're going to utilize those skills and build a really cool mini website. And I want to show you what it looks like right now to get you pumped. All right, it looks like this. El Amigo Pub and Grill, craft beer in beautiful Spain. This is a totally fictional restaurant that I just created for the purpose of this course. So we're going to be building this cool little mini website here. It's kind of like a sign-up page or a reservation page. It has a cool background here. It has some transparent backgrounds in these content sections, a really big logo, some text, a new font that we haven't used yet. A form with kind of a different style this time, and just some basic other stuff in there. We're using borders and everything we've learned, so let's jump right in. First things first, in your code editor, create a new file called index.html. Add the doc type, basic page structure, and the title will be El Amigo Pub plus Grill. Add a link in your head tag to your style sheet, which will be dirty.css. And create a new file in your Lesson 7 folder called dirty.css. I have added a couple images to this lecture that you can download. It will be the background, logo, and transparent_white.png files. Download those images and add them to your images folder in your Lesson 7 folder so that we can reference them in our CSS for this specific lecture. Okay, first things first, let's start coding some HTML. Div with the ID of container. Let's give that container an end comment so we can see where it ends, because we're adding a lot of stuff in here. A new div. Let's give that div the ID of header. And then another div here. That div will have the ID of content. Another div. ID of reserve, and one more div. It will have the ID of footer. All right, so in the header, let's start. And let's add an A tag and give it the href / that references the root of our directory, which will be the root of the Lesson 7 folder, which happens to be index.html. Index is almost always the root. Okay, now let's add a few more things here. Let's add a title attribute to this A tag and say return to home page, so that when you hover over the link, it'll have a little yellow tooltip, or a tooltip depending on your browser. It will show a specific style and it will say return to home page. It will pop up if you hover over it for long enough. And an ID of logo. Then let's space this out here and put an image in between. So you can actually wrap an image in an A tag. Images / logo.png, we're referencing the logo in our images folder that you downloaded at the beginning of this lecture. Alt tag, we need to do an alt tag for images. And this will say El Amigo Pub plus Grill. And then let's say best craft beer in Spain. Okay, next up. In our content, let's add a level 1 heading and say the best craft beer in Spain. Save that, add a paragraph tag right below it, and let's say Bienvenido amigos. We are a completely fictional location, but that doesn't mean we can't imagine that we have the best beer in Spain. Save it and let's check it out in our browser. You'll notice a couple things. There, you don't see the logo, but you have this big space. The reason for that is the logo is actually white, and the background by default is white, so you can't see white on white, obviously. So let's keep going. You'll see the logo come up soon enough. Next, in our reserve tags, let's add a level 2 heading and say make a reservation. Paragraph tag right in under there, and let's say get your spot before somebody else does. Save it, and let's add an HTML form tag, and let's get started with our form. This is going to look very similar to the last form that we built, so that is a good thing. It will be nice and quick. Label tag, input tag. The label will say your name, and the input will have the type of text and the ID of your underscore name. That means the for attribute in the label will also have your name, so they hook up together, and beautiful. Check it out in your browser. Doesn't look very good, but that's a good thing because we haven't added the CSS yet. I want to do one cool thing here. Let's add an HTML5 placeholder attribute. This is only visible in some more modern browsers like Safari, Chrome, Firefox, and possibly a few others, but it's a cool little thing to add just for extra kind of valuable experience for people who have those browsers. Placeholder adds a little kind of hinter text inside the input. So watch this. John B. Good. Save that, check it out in your browser. You'll see the placeholder text in here. It goes away once you start typing, but it's there just as a little hint as to what you should be writing in this input. Just better user experience. Cool. Copy this, paste it again. Let's change a couple of the values. This will be email, your email, and the ID will also change to your underscore email. The type will not be text, it will be email. Placeholder, let's just put a little fictional email here. you're@email.com. Good, copy this, paste it one more time here, and let's change this to your time. And this will be reservation time. The type will just be text again, and the ID will be your time, and the placeholder, let's just add a little hinter text in there and say tomorrow at 10 p.m. Cool. One more input. Let's add the input, the submit button. Input type submit. The value will be reserve. Good enough. There it is. Save that. Check out your form in the browser. There's everything you need to get started with CSS. And let's add one last thing in the HTML before we jump right into our dirty.css. Copyright in the footer. 2013. El Amigo. Save it. Check it. There it is. Let's get this looking nice in CSS. Open your dirty.css file. I added a comment up here, just kind of like a personal signature. Lets you know what CSS file you're working with, who created it, my website, the date that I worked on it. You don't have to do that, but you can if you want. Here we go. We're going to add a little simple CSS reset right here. We've done this before in the past few. Asterisk thing, margin 0, padding 0. Everything, every element has margin 0, padding 0. All right, moving on. Body. Please excuse my sloppy typing. Sometimes I type too fast for my fingers move too fast for how much I can actually type. Body. Background. The color will be black. The image will be images/background.jpg. That is the background.jpg file that you downloaded at the beginning of the lecture. The position will be top, center, and the background repeat will be no repeat. I don't want it to repeat. So I want the background to be black, the background image to be the image that I provided, top, center, and no repetition. Check it out. There you go. So you got black background all around here, and the image is right here in the top center of the browser. Now you can see the logo. So now we're getting somewhere. Back to your dirty.css. Let's do a little typography stuff here. Font size, 20 pixels. Font family. This is a new font we haven't used yet. Helvetica New. I don't know how to pronounce that. Maybe you do. If you can, just let me know. But it's a new font. Some browsers, some computers have this built in. If you don't, that's okay, because it will fall back to the next font, which will be Helvetica. And then so on and so forth. Arial and sans serif. Font weight. Helvetica New allows us to use the lighter font weight because it can go lighter than just normal. Text align center. I want the padding all around the body to be 40 pixels. I want the color of everything to be 333. And let's do that sexy text typography. Now, you couldn't just type sexy text and then it just appears, but I can because I added a shortcut in Coda 2 that allows me to hit tab after I write sexy text, and then it spits out the WebKit font smoothing and text rendering CSS styles. If you don't have Coda 2, then you just can hand code these in there right there. If you do have Coda 2, you can add a clip in your clips thing up here and create your own custom clips so that you can have a faster coding experience. Anyway, moving on. Let's go on to our level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 headings. Now, we're only using, I believe, level 1 and 2 headings in this, but I'm going to style all of them just in case you wanted to add something later that has level 3, 4, 5, and 6 headings. Font weight, I want it to be normal. Padding, 0 top, 0 left and right, 10 pixels on the bottom. Same with the margin, 0, 0, 10. Save that, let's check it out, see what it looks like so far. All right, it's centered right here. We have the text align center. You can hardly see the text because it's kind of dark on dark, but we're getting there, no worries. Let's keep going. Moving on, let's select that container ID and let's say width, 600 pixels, margin 0 auto. So if you remember, width is going to give the whole container, so everything in this website is going to be 600 pixels wide, or it's going to be within a 600 pixel wide parent container, and it's going to have the margin of 0 top bottom, auto left and right, which is going to center that container in the middle of the browser. So check it out. So now if I were to move the browser size, it stays 600 pixels and stays centered in the middle of the browser. So it's looking pretty good so far. Okay, moving on. We're going to actually, for this next style, we need to add some extra HTML. So back to your HTML here. I want you on the content, reserve, and footer IDs to add a class as well. And that class is going to be content-block. Copy that class and paste it on the content as well. And also, don't do it on the header. Do it on the content, do it on reserve, and do it on footer. Save that. Now go back to your CSS. Now we can select the content block. Content-block. Now let's add some styles here. Background URL will be images/transparent_white.png. That is the transparent white image that I added that you downloaded at the beginning of the lecture. It's a little tiny square. It's white, but it's slightly transparent. I created it in Photoshop, and if we use it as a background, we'll have this cool transparent background on our content blocks, and it's going to look super cool. Position, top left, and we want it to repeat on all sides because it's fully tileable, and we want it to fill out the entire content block. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Color, 333. In fact, I don't need to do that because I already declared that style up here, so never mind, we don't need to do that. Padding, 20 pixels on all sides. I want to get some breathing room. Margin, 20 pixels on top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Let's save that, check out our index.html file. Now that's looking good. You could see the white transparent background on each of these. You could see through it a little bit here. Typography's looking good. You could see the new Helvetica New font. And things are looking pretty good so far. So let's keep going. We got some more to style up here. Let's select the content block. And we're going to do some borders. Border. Solid. 10 pixels. Black. Save that. Check it out. Solid 10 pixels black. Cool. We're going to select the reserve. ID of reserve, border, solid 10 pixels, white. Save that, check it out. There it is. And the next one is footer. And we want to style this background black. We kind of want it to disappear into the background. We don't want this one to have the transparent white. And this one will have the color of white because it's going to be dark and you need to see the text. There it is, El Amigo, just at the bottom, just a simple little footer, looking good. Okay, next up, we're going to select that form and we're going to style the form. Text align, left, we want all of the form to be text aligned left, not centered. Width, 300 pixels, we want the form to be 300 pixels wide. Margin, 20 pixels, auto, 0. That's 20 pixels on the top, auto on the left and right, and 0 on the bottom. This is going to center this 300 pixel wide element in the middle of its parent, which will be, or is, the container. Okay, so maybe let's give that a look. There you go. So it's 300 pixels wide, and it's centered in its parent container right there, using margin, auto left and right. Form label. We want the labels to be display block, to override its default, and the width is going to be 290 pixels. You're probably wondering why this is not 300 pixels, because it seems like I'm trying to make it the full width of the form. I am, but the trick here is I'm adding padding to the element here, and I want 5 pixels on all sides. But if you remember from our box model lecture, padding adds to the width of the element because it's on the inside of the border of the element. So padding on the left and padding on the right adds to the width. So if there's 5 on the left, 5 on the right, that equals 10. So that's adding 10 pixels to the width of the element. It doesn't stay contained. It doesn't stay contained within what you say the width is. So if it's 5 on the left, 5 on the right, that's 10 pixels. 290 plus 10 is obviously 300 pixels. And so that's why I have 290 pixels, because 290 wide plus 5 pixels on the left plus 5 pixels on the right for padding equals 300 pixels. So therefore it actually is a full width to the form. So hopefully that made sense. Totally rewind and play that back if you want to kind of have a little recap. Moving on. Text transform. Uppercase. I want it to be fully uppercase. Font size 11 pixels. Font weight bold. Background 333. You want it to be dark. And color white. Save it. Check it out. Boom, there you go. So we have our labels here with the dark background, full width, looking pretty good. Let's move on to our form input. This is selecting all inputs, including the submit button, because it is also an input. Display block. Width 290 pixels for the same reasons as above. Padding 5 pixels on all sides. Margin 0, 0, 10, which is 0 top, 0 right, left, 10 on the bottom. And font size 22 pixels. Font family Georgia, Times, and Serif. We're overriding the default font family we declared in the body at the top of our style sheet. Font style italic. And then sexy text. Save that and let's give it a look-see. Boom, that's looking okay, but I see a little something going on here. I don't like that. So what is this here? Looks like I left the borders on the inputs here. So let's get rid of that. All we have to do is just say in our styles, border, none. And we want no borders. Check it out. There we go. It's nice and flush here. So perfect. All right, now last style, we're going to select form input type of submit. This is me selecting the attribute of type in the input. So obviously it's selecting the submit button. So here we can do our styles. We want the background to be 333. We want the color to be white, and we want the cursor to be a pointer, the little hand thing when you hover over the button. So let's check it out. Something's a little funny here. It's not the full width. It's not 300 pixels for some reason. It should be getting the padding styles and the width that we declared on the input in our CSS, but it's not. Buttons act a little funny. Submit buttons act a little funny in certain browsers. So you could just redeclare the width here to be 300 pixels because they behave slightly different. Now if you added 300 pixels, it should fill out to the full width. Perfect. So there we go. There is the El Amigo Pub and Grill craft beer in beautiful Spain website that you coded up. It's looking really good. This is much more beautiful than the stuff we've been coding before, because now you're at a good point where you could start really making some nice things. Let's do a quick little review here. So we have the background, which is black, and we have a background image. We have a nice big beautiful logo here. We have these 3 content blocks here, 2 of which have the transparent white background. We have some nice typography styles in here. We've styled up the form, which looks nice and a little unconventional, kind of cool. And we have some big black borders around our content here just to make it pop. So good job. See you in the next lecture.